Well, a year ago, the AI landscape as we know it was rocked and forever changed, I think you can say, by a single chatbot. On November 30th, 2022, OpenAI released an early demo of ChatGPT, and the internet caught fire. Analysts, Wall Street was so excited about it. Just 5 days after the chatbot had drawn in over 1 million users in the months that followed, a generative AI explosion rocked the tech world, fueling investment and innovation in what Webbush's Dan Ives calls the fourth industrial revolution. So 1 year later, where are we in this chatbot that started it all? We want to bring Yahoo Finance's Dan Howley. And Dan, it's also an interesting time, obviously, given everything, the drama that's played out at OpenAI over the last 2 weeks. And here we are a year later from that initial release.
Almost a year. 2 days from a year, and they almost didn't even have their CEO, their co-founders were out the door. Now they're finally back. I think, when you look at what OpenAI and ChatGPT have done for this market, for tech in general, it's driven huge innovations at companies, whether that's Microsoft or Google, which dove headfirst into this. Microsoft's huge investment in ChatGPT essentially helped get Sam Altman back as the CEO of the company, added some board members there. But they also have Google, which has got its own Bard. We can see here, they are also in the generative AI space. Their technology helped create the transformers in ChatGPT. OpenAI has its ChatGPT, and then we have Baidu with the Ernie bot. Don't forget Tesla is also working on it, or X is also working on its own AI as well. But I think the big thing that is noticeable here is how quickly we've seen this kind of diffusion of the technology across different industries. So whether you look at CRMs, Salesforce, obviously, and Microsoft there as well. Whether you look at healthcare, they're getting in there. Security, cybersecurity, they're getting in there. Walmart is using it for shoppers. So this is something that we're going to continue to see. And I think, as we start to kind of take stock of what kind of changes this has made in the tech landscape, you can't leave out the number one probably beneficiary, NVIDIA, which, across $1 trillion. They've been there for months now. Their chips are powering essentially every generative AI application out there for major players. So, it's from A to Z is seemingly everything that this technology is touching, and it's going to continue to do so into 2024.
It is, to your point, amazing to see the explosion, because I remember when we were, it really took off like a rocket. And November 30th, a personal note, it's my birthday. Ooh. So it's not just ChatGPT's day.
Happy birthday, happy early birthday.
Thank you. But I decided to, just to see what, just throw in something on ChatGPT and I looked up what's the top trending AI search. Of course, it doesn't have that data yet. It says, I don't have real-time browsing capabilities. We know that is something that's in development. So I can't provide the latest search trends. As of my last update in January 2022, AI topics often include machine learning. And that's something we've talked about more and more this year, LLMs, et cetera. And it's so amazing to see how much of the lexicon this has become a part of, not just in our conversations where we talk about this as journalists, but the average person is now talking about AI and generative AI and just the explosion of this. I did expect you to talk about NVIDIA. What trends are you seeing for 2024 when it comes to this new frontier, Dan?
Yeah, I think some of the big things that the experts that I've spoken to are focusing more sharply with large language models and with generative AI. Whereas right now you have ChatGPT, you have Microsoft's Copilot, formerly Bing Chat, you have Bard, you have Google Search Generative Experience, which is the version of Google Search with generative AI built in. They're all general, right? These are general purpose chatbots that are meant to appeal to huge swaths of the public. Now what they're talking about, or some of the experts that I've spoke to are talking about, is more pointed versions of these chatbots. So ones that are specific for certain areas, whether that's an industry, whether that's a business itself. That's where you're going to start to see these far more targeted, so that they're able to answer questions that are more imperative for certain companies, certain sectors, rather than, hey, when was the Taj Mahal built or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we've seen just in terms of the reliability, which has been a huge issue or question mark, I should say, when it comes to ChatGPT and a lot of these chatbots. Dan, just taking a step back, though, where we are in the entire AI landscape, we've talked a lot about the risks associated with AI, regulations, what exactly needs to be done in order to mitigate those risks. Are you expecting to see any material movement on this front next year?
No. Well.
So then how long would that take? Because we know it's a priority of the Biden administration.
Yeah.
Who knows who's going to win in 2024? But what do you think is more realistic then?
I think that we'll see more piecemeal moves. State to state is more likely. It's the same. I mean, look, we don't have federal privacy regulation, right? We don't have an overarching federal privacy regulation. We've been talking about that for years. And so it's not going to happen, I don't think, next year as far as AI, regardless of how much people talk about how, it needs to be regulated. I think one of the other things that, came about with ChatGPT was this, existential threat that AI poses, or a theorized existential threat. And a lot of people that I talk to say, look, it's not necessarily that you have to worry about. It's the disinformation, it's the misinformation, it's the using these to kind of exploit people's fears as such. And so it's not that ChatGPT is going to, your computer's not going to sprout legs and start attacking you in like the middle of the night. It's not going to,
Not yet, at least.
Right, yeah, not yet. One of the professors that I spoke to recently was like, well, there's the idea that it'll make it easier for people to make, for example, bioweapons, right? But the issue is you still have to get the stuff to make those, right? Like you can't just go on ChatGPT and say, how does this, so.
Still a bit alarming.
It is,
Yes.
it's for sure alarming, but it's, it's, I think, one of those things where the fear is more interesting than the reality.
Okay. All right. Well, Elon Musk seemed to be a little bit worried too.
Yeah,
about
I mean,
a number of
he's
them.
got a lot. He's got a lot of stuff going on. So
This is true. This is true. All right, Dan, we will put a pin in our conversation there. Always love covering everything that you cover: tech, ChatGPT, OpenAI, generative AI, et cetera. Thanks, Dan.